So on that note, and this could just be like a really sloppy job of somebody at the UFC social media department, but there's a thing on Twitter where somebody sent a screenshot where it says, "Don't miss Poirier take on McGregor for the lightweight title," and it's basically this like Twitter like chatbot thing from the UFC official Instagram Twitter account. So that's interesting. I wonder if that will be announced as a title fight this week or something.
See, someone said that it was announced as a title fight, but I heard it wasn't.
Yeah,
so
it could just be a mistake.
Yeah, no, I think I thought it was that person, the winner of that, will fight for the vacant title, but against two though. They hadn't said anything. It could be against the winner of Gaethje and Oliveira. As I'm hearing that it's going to be against the winner of Gaethje and Oliveira because those guys are both ranked higher. And then you have Conor and Poirier. They're going to fight the winner of whoever wins that other fight for the vacant title. Who knows? I mean, we won't know, I think, until after, probably right before this fight or right after this fight, who they're going to fight. But as far as Chandler goes, I don't see any reason. I don't think, John, you can convince me that that Conor would take that fight. And I already know that Khabib there's just no way. Doesn't interest him at all. So, it's just, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. Like, I think it, like you said, it would have to be for the title, but even then, I don't know. I think with Conor, like, I don't know, man. Like, even if it's for the title, I don't think it's a fight that he just really cares about. Like, he gets motivated for guys, and I don't think he's one of them. Not yet. I mean, he may be if he starches both, Hooker and Tony. Let's say he fights Tony next. He starches both of them in one round. I mean, now you've got a buzz though that can be created, for maybe to hype up the Conor thing. I mean, that would be, and like you said, it had to be for the title. And when it is for the title, that obviously garnishes more money, So and I think by then there'll be fans back in the crowd, which will bring in more money as well.
Yeah.
So it'll make a little easier choice for the for the UFC.
I think we basically agree. I do not see Khabib ever taking that fight. That's just because he doesn't have that interest, and money doesn't motivate him the same way as other guys. And just not the fight for him. Not going to happen.
Well, he's
he's
already got enough money. He does.
The Conor one I can see happening. If everything worked out, I could see that falling into place.
Got it. Something I want to talk about real quick was Conor McGregor is fighting here coming up against Dustin Poirer.
Damn, are you good? Damn, are you good?
I'm very good. I'm very good. As we know. But there's one thing that we've talked about for the longest time, and I don't think he does get enough credit for it, despite his striking, despite his knockout power, despite all the things. Gilbert Burns even came out and said that his grappling, Conor McGregor's grappling, is very good. And we've talked about this several times. And I've said people underestimate, I even talked about this, I think, on a Rogan show too, saying that he is so good that, like, for him to not take as much damage as most people against Khabib, and then to stop some of the takedowns, even it depends on when the moment of the fight was happening, how he was able to stop those takedowns, like in the third round. If you look at that first initial takedown that Khabib tried to get, he made him work really hard for that position to get to that position. It wasn't until Conor started trying to strike that Khabib was able to advance his position. Had he kept defending, right, it probably would have been a different situation in that first initial takedown. Now, I'm not saying that Khabib wouldn't be able to get him down, like later on in the, after losing that takedown, after not getting that takedown, but he showed right away that he knew exactly what he was doing and how good he was on the ground. Even when he finally got taken down, his wrist control, his ability to not take a lot of damage in that first round showed me a lot. His positioning against the fence, I think his grappling it will continue to be underestimated because of how good he is on the feet.
I think it's going to be underestimated based upon performances and where he loses. If you're going to beat Conor, where is it that people have beat him? Well, they beat him not the stand-up. They beat him by getting him to the ground and getting a victory there. You can take a look back at, his first loss. Well, not first loss, but his loss to Nate Diaz in the very first Nate Diaz fight. It wasn't the grappling of Nate. That's not taking anything away from Nate. We all know Nate can roll, and he is a definite black belt. It was the conditioning of Conor. Conor got tired. Yeah. I don't care who you are. When you're tired, You can have all the skill in the world. You're going to lose.
Yeah.
And so I think the same thing happened in the Khabib fight. He got tired. We've talked, ad nauseum about that first takedown attempt. He was doing things that were high level to stop what was occurring. And it wasn't until, like you said, he decided to start striking that it switched and Khabib was able to finish that takedown and get him to his back. So we know he's good. He's outstanding as an MMA fighter. His grappling is outstanding. He just doesn't go to it as his way of finishing a fight. He does it with the power, speed, ability to control distance and understand timing that he has. If that's your number one thing, stick with your number one thing. That's what he does. But Gilbert Burns knows, just like everybody else that either rolls with him or has watched him and has any knowledge of what they're looking at. You can watch him and you go, he's good. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Even if you have someone who is an anti-grappler, you still have to know the positions in which the person's going to transition to first. And he seems to know that pretty damn well. He also Conor actually came out and said that he's going to paint a masterpiece. I mean, everyone's kind of expecting him to come out and paint a masterpiece. I'm not willing to go that far because Dustin has gotten a lot better himself, especially in the mindset like we talked about last week. Is that he's not going to let Conor get under his skin this time. He's going to fight a more composed fight for this fight against Conor. So I'm expecting it to go a lot longer. I'm not saying that he can't get clipped. I think both guys can be knocked out, at least in a lot of trouble to the point of a submission. I mean, I could see something like that happen if Dustin was able to rock Conor. And Dustin was able to jump on him as far as like an arm and guillotine, like we saw he did against Khabib, somewhere along that line of him getting to that type of position. I think he's got a chance. And we've seen that Conor sometimes when he does get tired or sometimes in those positions, I wouldn't say he panics, but he doesn't handle them well. He doesn't, in those scenarios with the Nate Diaz fight, he turned, and when he turned, he continued to give him the neck instead of going back to being mounted. That's a position of being fatigued also, but just making the wrong decision in those moments of crisis. Same thing happened with Khabib when he turned, and he continued to turn and just let the submission go across the jawline. And I know those things, they're painful and they suck and they can't hurt your jaw, but it was one of those things where you were tired and you made the wrong decision. Instead of trying to turn one way or the other, give up, another position, you decided to stay there, and it cost you the fight. It cost you getting the submission. Will he do that again, like against Dustin? Dustin can jump on that arm and guillotine very fast, or in those guillotine positions fast, especially if you're in trouble. And he will sometimes, and like I said, it's been proven he makes the mistake in the transitions while under pressure. So as much as people are, I've read a lot of the media's interviews. Everyone tends to think, and a lot of fighters have said that they expect to see kind of the same type of fight, maybe it going a little bit longer. I can see that happening, but I also can see Dustin. I'm giving Dustin a little bit more of a chance this time around, not just by a little bit, but I mean, I'd say another 30%. I would say probably about a 60-40, somewhere in there, 70, I would say 70-65. 35 kind of thing. I mean, I'm saying it's in that mix in there. I want to go 60-40 almost. I would give Dustin more of a 40% chance. In the first fight, I gave him a lot more of a chance, but I didn't take into consideration the mental part of it all in terms of the trash talking, getting under the skin. And like I said, this fight all came about because of the charity, the possible charity, and Conor saying, I'll fight you in the charity and I'll donate to your charity event, da-da-da-da-da. That right there, that kind of thing brought them a little bit closer together in terms of what they're willing to do to get this fight to happen. And there's a mutual respect, I think, now the fact that they are fighting. And so I don't think Dustin's going to take anything he says now personally. Just my opinion.
No, I don't think whether he says it or not, it's not there to irritate Dustin in the same fashion because Dustin's grown from it.
Yeah.
No matter what, you think you can handle certain things and they won't bother you, but they do. And in the end, you go back and you look and you go, yeah, that bothered me. And I made mistakes because of it. And what a good fighter does is he learns from those mistakes and he takes and he alters them, fixes them, and moves on. That's what Dustin did, and that's why he's in the position he is to get another shot at Conor in this, because you look, they're in that lineup. This is one of the toughest for Conor. Yeah. No matter what. I thought when they fought the first time, I go, this is going to tell me everything I need to know about Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
This was the fight because I had watched him, against, Diego Brandao, and I watched him a couple times in Cage Warriors, and then I watched him, against like Dennis Seaver and stuff. And you're going, he fought Marcus Bremage, and I'm like, no, those guys aren't at that level that I'm looking for. Not that they're not good fighters, and not like, Dennis Seaver, tough dude, but they just don't have those elements that is needed to beat the guy that's like Conor. But when they put him against Poirier, I was like, oh yeah, this is the guy that definitely has the skill set. If Conor can beat Dustin Poirer, he's telling me exactly where he's at.
Yeah. And
I really gave, Dustin a lot of, credit in possibly being able to beat him. Obviously I believe like you that the mind game was a big part of that, and that Conor used it beautifully. The Conor has always done that I've always been impressed by is usually when he talks about a fighter, he talks about mistakes that they make, and he's honest. He's saying an actual thing. He really got away from it with Khabib.
Yeah.
And he started talking about other things, and that was telling me that, you haven't found a whole lot of places where, he's not good. Not that you don't know where he's better here than he is here, but you've seen he's good everywhere. And when you see the way he's talking even now about Poirier, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different. And he sees a different fighter, and I think he's preparing for a different fighter, and that's what he's supposed to do.
I agree.